Jolene Van Alstine, a woman from Saskatchewan, Canada, has been suffering from a rare but treatable parathyroid disease for 8 years. She suffered immensely while the Canadian healthcare system has failed to connect her with an endocrinologist to remove her parathyroid gland. Instead, the country's healthcare system has offered her medically assisted suicide through its MAiD program. Now, Glenn Beck, who we have here, just learned about Jolene's story and is offering to help her, including funding her travel to the United States if necessary, and is even connected with some surgeons who are willing to perform the procedure. Glenn, tell us first how you found out about Jolene and then why doing something to help her was such an easy yes for you.
So this is something that I have been concerned about, what's happening in Canada with this MAiD, medical assistance in dying. It's now the third largest killer in Canada. Third. And they're looking to expand it. And this is going to happen in the United States and all around the world if we don't wake up to it. We must stand for life. And so yesterday, one of my producers, Stu, said, Glenn, did you hear the story? He told me the story and he told it to me on the air. And I'm like, that can't stand, that's ridiculous. And it just kind of came out of me that I'll pay for it. Just get her here. I wasn't really thinking that one through. I don't know what that's going to cost, but it is. How do you let a person die? How do the Canadians? How are they viewing this? How are they not standing up themselves and saying that's unacceptable? She doesn't have to die. I mean, the way you explained it, let me give you a little bit more. So she doesn't have a doctor. She lives in Saskatchewan. She doesn't have a doctor in Saskatchewan that can treat it and can do the surgery. Okay, right. So she can just go to someplace else, some other province. No, she can't, because their healthcare system is province by province. And so if she wants to go to another province, she has to get an endocrinologist to say, yes, she needs this surgery. She needs to go over here. All of the endocrinologists in Saskatchewan, no one's taking any new patients. She's not asking to be a new patient. She needs, a recommendation. Nope, can't do it. Canadian healthcare cannot do it. So she can't get anybody help. So she can't go across into another province to get a doctor. She can't just go anywhere. Even if they had the money, she can't do it. So the Canadian healthcare system said, well, I mean, maybe something will pop up, but let's pencil you in for January 7th to give you medical assisted suicide. And she's so broken and beaten, and her family is so broken and beaten, and she's in so much pain because she's been dealing with this forever, that she's like, okay, no, that's not an option. That's not an option, especially if we can help.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand. I just don't understand it.
Well, it's the most sinister of false options that have been presented to her because she's been completely coerced. It's continue to suffer as we withhold treatment because you're not meeting these bureaucratic, steps, which, by the way, we're blocking you from doing.
Right.
Or you can streamline ending your life. So this is something that, as you said, is happening in Canada, but it's creeping into the United States at an alarming rate. So
they're talking about it now in Illinois. It's happening right now in the state of Illinois, where they're discussing whether they bring this in. It can't happen. Happen.
How did we get to a place, Glenn, culturally, where we are even having this conversation?
Well, let me give you first, how did we get here system-wise? This is something in 2009 I railed against every night for however long, saying the complete lives system. This is something that is part of Obamacare. It's part of the system where if there's a shortage, if you're a baby to, I think, 8 years old, you get almost nothing. If you're 60 to death, you get almost nothing. If you're 15 to 30, you get all of the healthcare because you're making money. And so that helps everything else. But it's this bell curve, and it's a serious way to ration healthcare.
Right.
in case there's a shortage. And I said, do you not think there will be a shortage? Do you not think as we run out of money, as we can't pay our bills, we can't pay our debts, as we bring more people in, we can't pay for this kind of health care that we have right now? And what happens? You are looking at it as a shortage that we'd run out of medicine, which we almost did. I'm telling you, there's a shortage of money that is coming. And that's when it will kick in. And that's what's happening. We have become this Malthusian society that puts no value on human life. And we're going along with it because there's no meaning to life anymore. You can't have it all. You can't be that perfect, trendsetter on Facebook or YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. You can't and if you do have it, you're not happy because it has no meaning in life. We're here because we have lost what the Lord said to the Jewish people when they first entered the promised land. Choose life.
Yeah.
If we don't have life as our most sacred, it's what made the West the West. Nobody else goes and drags their wounded brothers off of the battlefield. Nobody else drags the wounded enemies off the battlefield. We do. We do, because life is important. We're squandering that. And if we do, I said this in 2009, warning. If we keep going down this road, we are going to make the Germans look like rookies. With our technology, we will do it, and we're this close to it. We have to come together, and when we see something like this, fix it ourselves if we can. Join arms with other people if we can. There's got to be a way to fix this and send a message, clear message. Life is important. This woman, she doesn't have to die. She
Yeah.
just needs a surgery. There's no doctor in Canada that says, the hell with that. Just come, I'll fix it.
Yeah.
There's nobody. There's nobody. That's a very sick nation.
Yeah. Well, and this is what we're seeing right now, I think, is the beauty, the good side of social media, because often we talk about on CBN, and I know that you've talked about it elsewhere. There are a lot of problems with social media, but there's also a lot of beauty in social media, and this
Oh,
can
yeah.
be us linking arms. This is the best response to this kind of issue is, hey, we're in the United States. We'll do what we can to help you in Canada so that you can live and survive, because there's no reason, as you said, Glenn, why you shouldn't. So what have you been hearing from the surgeons who you've connected with on this case?
So I am not involved in the details, and when it comes to the surgeons, I don't want to be involved in that. We're a list of surgeons and hospitals that are volunteering their time or will give us a discounted rate or whatever, and we're having them talk to her and her husband, and then she can pick from a list. I, I don't want, unlike the government medicine, I don't want to be involved in her health decisions. That's between her. She can pick from pretty much a smorgasbord of doctors that have volunteered their help. Um, but but we'll see. We're really early on in this story. I
Yeah.
just heard that she spoke to one doctor and he said it's a little more complex than what I thought it was. She's really got to go to this hospital and have it done. So I don't know what's going to happen on this story. But I pray, I pray that we can save her life.
Hmm. Well, as Christians, this should be particularly moving to us, right? We should do all that we can to help people in need, but we should also, as you said, be praying. And I want to read a quote from you, Glenn, that just broke my heart from Jolene when I read it. It said, "My friends have stopped visiting me. I'm isolated. I've been alone lying on the couch for 8 years, sick and curled up in a ball, pushing for the day to end. I go to bed at 6 at night because I can't stand to be awake anymore." And I just am heartbroken that, as you said, somebody would look at that, look at this woman and say, nothing I can do.
How many people feel that way,
Hmm.
that are alone and they're not in Canada. They're probably on our own street.
Yeah.
How many people feel that way? We've You want meaning in life, real meaning in life. I have a good friend who was a billionaire, and he died broke. That was his goal, to die broke, give all of his money away. And he did. And I said to him, look, I grew up poor. I, I, I don't know how to be charitable in large scale. How do I do it? And he said, the first thing is you can't care about just one thing. You must care about the entire human condition. If you can care about the entire human condition, then you can see the suffering that everyone is going through. If you're just like, I'm only interested in cancer, I'm only interested in this, you're looking at a problem instead of people. You have to see the suffering in everyone. And I I fear we have grown so arrogant as people. We're so narcissistic about posting our stuff and what our clicks and our views, and I want to be an influencer and whatever. I it will be because of the Lord. It will only be
Hmm.
an act of God and a Moses style miracle that we will save ourselves from this, that we will be able to turn around. And I don't know I'm an alcoholic, and everybody has their bottom, and sometimes their bottom is death. I hope that's not true for our society. But when are we going to say enough is enough? I don't want to live this way anymore. Because
Yeah.
I've been there for a while, and when you hear this story, maybe that will be your bottom. Maybe you'll say, you know what? Nothing else matters except the human condition. And that's what I want to dedicate my life to. That's what I want to look for. I can't save everybody, but I have certain skills that maybe I can make a difference in that person's life. Just one. Just one.
Hmm. I think our politics is a symptom of the spiritual blindness and callousness of our age. I think the root issue is our spiritual lostness. Um, and stories like this, Jolene's story, I think really lays that bare, right? It makes that very clear that we're dealing with something that's much deeper than a political issue. But we've seen the pendulum swing back and forth politically and culturally. We're seeing some of that happen even spiritually right now in the United States with spiritual awakenings happening across the country. And this certainly is a discouraging story. Hopefully it has an encouraging outcome. But my last question for you, Glenn, is do you think ultimately we can right this ship before it is too late?
Oh, God. Yes. I mean, look at what happened on one of the most tragic days of my life, because I saw a friend of mine assassinated and my daughter was 10 feet away from it. On that day, I didn't know how it could go and be worse. And what happened within a week, this spirit of the Lord had swept the world, that I was at his funeral. I've never felt anything like it. If you were in the room, it was like a wave of the spirit.
Mhm.
The spirit was everywhere, and it was so strong. And then somebody would get on stage and they'd talk about politics and it would withdraw. And then they'd start talking about, God again, and it would come back in. Everyone in the building felt it. Everyone did. It was watched by 1.5 billion people. Look at how the Lord changed us overnight. But what also happened is the shooter and action, equal and opposite reaction. This time it wasn't equal, it was unequal. God showed up and took that bad and made it into something. And then I think an opposite and equal reaction, I think Satan showed up. We've seen our country go really super dark about the Charlie thing, about everything.
Yeah.
There's darkness that has taken me by surprise it has been so dark and so unexplainable on how it is spread like that. We're in a spiritual battle, period. And the sifting is going on. We're watching the two titans play out. I know who wins, but we're watching them play out right now. And we cannot be pawns unless you're a pawn in the hand of the Lord. The Lord will use you as a tool if you're aligned with him. I want to be on his side. If you're not aligned with him, you are going to be used by the other side, because there is no neutral here. You can't just say, well, I'm kind of involved. I don't really know. I haven't made a decision. You have to make a decision. Who do you serve? What do you believe? What is worth living for? What's worth dying for? The whole world is about to change in the next 2 or 3 years. The entire world is going to be different. Are you going to be a light, or are you just going to go along with the rest of humanity? I'm not going over that cliff. I'm not going over that cliff. Stick with God. Stick with God. He will heal us. He will shape us. He will mold us. He will make us stand. He will save us. He's our answer. That's the only answer there is. Serve him.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen to that. Well, her name is Jolene Van Alstine. Continue to pray for her as this case unfolds. Glenn Beck, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Trey. God bless.